and welcome to the weekly World Climate Change News, making the headlines. Urgent measures are needed to protect the Siberian tundra. Many displaced in Mozambique as climate crisis worsens. Miracle fuel hydrogen may worsen climate change. In a first, New Zealand to introduce tax on cowbirds. India's forest soil can store an additional 7 billion tons of carbon. Climate crisis is making Japan's cherry blossoms bloom earlier. Every climate pollutant needs to be reduced to stop global warming. Now, the news in details. Global warming is causing temperatures in the Arctic to rise rapidly. Thus, the tree line for Siberian larch forests is steadily progressing towards the north and gradually replacing the broad stretches of tundra that are home to rare mix of flora and fauna. Researchers have now prepared a computer simulation of how these woods could spread in the future at the tundra's expense. They conclude that roughly 30% of the Siberian tundra can survive to mid-millennium if consistent climate protection measures are followed. In other words, the unique habitat is estimated to disappear entirely if protective measures are not taken. In recent months, the northern coastal areas of Mozambique have been hit hard by storms and cyclones, affecting thousands of families, including refugees. According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the tropical cyclone Gombe has affected more than 7 lakh people. Shelters have been damaged, leaving many refugees and asylum seekers in urgent need of assistance. The country continues to be affected by various climate crises, thus affecting the lives of host communities, refugees, and the internally displaced. A world desperate for a climate friendly fuel is pinning its hope on hydrogen to power factories, buildings, ships, and planes without pumping carbon dioxide into the air. However, scientists are now warning that hydrogen spilled into the atmosphere, like carbon, can contribute to climate change. Depending on how it is produced, transported, and utilized, it may potentially exacerbate warming over the next few decades, even if carbon offers the greater long term concern. New Zealand wants to tax methane burps from sheep and cows, one of the country's biggest sources of greenhouse gases. For the money raised, scientists will seek options to reduce agriculture's greenhouse gas emissions. Each animal releases 4 to 500 liters of methane into the atmosphere every day. The authorities are now developing a scheme to calculate the tax. It will encourage farmers to use special feed additives and grow forests on their land. Once the tax is approved, it may come into force from 2025. New Zealand will become the first state to require farmers to pay this one-of-a-kind tax if it passes. India's forests and soil can potentially store an additional 7 billion tons of carbon. This puts India among top 10 countries with additional carbon storage capacity, a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences revealed. Land-based carbon storage is a part of nature-based solution to climate crisis, one of the focal areas at the 26th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. India can gain the most by improving the management of existing and likely degraded forests. Restoring forests that were previously lost offers great benefits. Spring cherry blossoms are a culturally significant event in Japan. In 2021, the blossoms in Kyoto peaked on March 26, the earliest bloom date in 1200 years. This year, the cherry blossoms were blooming start of the April. The study shows that the trend of early blooming is due to the rising temperatures. The climate crisis and urban warming have brought peak blooming forward by 11 days. Early blossoms affect plants, insects, and animals which depend on each other in their development and life cycle. Changing the cycle can create a chain reaction that wreaks havoc on the ecosystem. Study shows that only slashing emissions of carbon dioxide isn't enough to prevent catastrophic global warming. Simultaneously reducing emissions of methane and other climate pollutants could cut the rate of global warming in half by 2050. Focusing efforts exclusively on cutting carbon dioxide emissions, as most governments currently do, can no longer prevent global temperatures from rising above pre-industrial levels. Analysis shows that climate pollutants such as nitrous oxide, low level ozone, methane, hydrofluorocarbons, and carbon soot contributes almost as much to the global warming as CO2. Since most of them last only a short duration in the atmosphere, reducing them will slow global warming more efficiently. That is all for the news this week. Thank you for watching Weekly World Climate Change News. Stay tuned for more next week. Goodbye.